Thank you for downloading this episode of the Nerdball Podcast. I am in my basement again on Zoom, but I would still like to shout out Fort Meigs CrossFit for always supporting the podcast. Actually, might be taking Mateo to do CrossFit, so we'll get some classes in. Hopefully, I've been saying that for I feel like for forever now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Also, please check out Three Different Dads podcast. Where we try to do one every week if we can. We missed last week because I was not happy with our efforts. I feel like nobody was prepared. It wasn't good. Kind of went off the rails. It was one of those secret episodes. Maybe eventually they'll get put out. It wasn't like terrible. It just didn't sound good to me. Internet wasn't working well, so it didn't go out. But I'm hoping we can do another one this week. Hopefully we'll put another one out. But continue to share the podcast and everywhere. Again, we got over 100 subscribers on YouTube. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty cool. People will like it. People will like it enough to subscribe. Even if you don't want to listen, just subscribe. And I'm sure there's a something on there that tells you to not get notifications, but I still have a subscriber. So do all that. Share your favorite episode. Tag me in it and let me know why it's your favorite episode. Or if there's guests that you think there should be on that I should reach out to, let me know that too. Email the nerdballpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on any of the social medias. Just search for the Nerdball Pod on Twitter and the Nerdball Podcast on Instagram. I also have a Threads, but that's tied to Instagram anyway. I wanted to get that. I didn't know if people were just swooping things up, but it's all tied together, just like everything is in the world. So check those things out. Send me some comments, send me some likes, send me some subscribers, any of that kind of stuff. My guest today, it was a fantastic episode. Excuse me. We talked about a lot of stuff. I'm not going to get into it as I've been trying not to, but it is we got deep. There's some addiction issues we talked about, some drugs and that kind of stuff. So it's a great episode. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Again, like, share, subscribe to wherever you are hearing this or watching this, and enjoy the episode.
Hello, I'm Seth Robinson, and this is the Nerdball Podcast.
This is the Nerdball Podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
Perfect, Seth. You got it. First take. No takes needed. Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
I don't know. I think we've met a few times, but I definitely heard of you more than we've actually met. I was looking through our messages on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, we were supposed to do this several times and we just never made it work. So again, thanks for coming on here. The first question I always ask people is, what is something you nerd out about? So something you're super into, a hobby. It could be anything. The only thing I suggest is that not be your job, because this question is like, hey, what do you do outside of your job to kind of make you be happy, feel happy, and want to get away from everything else?
Okay. Yeah. For me, that one's easy. It's video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you play on?
PS5. I've been a PlayStation kid since the beginning.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
not the beginning, Nintendo, obviously, but
yeah.
yeah.
But once the Xbox, PlayStation, all that stuff came out, you went to PlayStation and never wavered.
Never looked back. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like that too. I had all the Nintendo stuff, my older brother and I, and then we got PlayStation 1 and 2. And for whatever reason, I went to an Xbox, and then I had a 360 for forever. And then finally, when my son was older, I was like, all right, we're finally getting Series X or whatever. He has a Nintendo Switch, but yeah, I've loved video games for a long time. I would talk to my dad about it. He goes, I always think it's like, I find it weird when like adults play video games, but that's how you guys grew up. That's the thing you guys did.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was do you remember one of the first video games you played?
Well, the original Super Mario Brothers on NES.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We played that quite a bit too. My grandparents had an Atari. So we played Atari quite a bit. My uncle is really good at it, so we would watch him play. But
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, interestingly, we had Nintendo before we had the Atari 7600.
Oh, really?
So it's like we kind of went backwards. But yeah, Pitfall and Dig Dug and
Yeah,
Pong and yeah, those kind of games.
yeah. It's again, it's something. There was a big break because I remember playing when my son was born. I had my son in my arms with an Xbox controller, and I was playing video games. And then it was just a big break because he was a toddler, and I couldn't play video games anymore because of time. And then he got to the age where we can get him in Nintendo, and then we started playing video games again. So it was,
Okay.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's a picture with my son in my arms, and we're both holding PlayStation controllers, and his isn't plugged in.
That's such a parent, a dad thing, and an older sibling thing. To when you have younger siblings, like, yeah, you can play. Here you go.
Right, but then they hit an age where they realize, wait a minute, this button doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh crap, here we go. I guess I gotta plug it in now.
What what about PlayStation made you not want to, like, is it just like, well, I don't, there's no reason for me to buy this other one because I really like PlayStation.
Well, I don't want to say it was anything specific. Well, I guess the argument could be made why I'm arguing against Xbox for PlayStation, but I
Yeah.
never thought it was like PlayStation was so much better. The feel of an Xbox controller with my thumbs,
Uh-huh.
like one up and one down. I
Oh yeah.
couldn't do it. I couldn't do
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like I said, I don't know why I think, yeah, I don't know why I switched. I don't know what happened. Maybe uh I think the reason we got an Xbox now is because those were the only ones we could find at the time, because we bought it. I think we got it around COVID, and we just could not find place to anything. So then when this came out, my friend texted me that, hey, they got a bunch of these. They got a bunch of these at the store or whatever. If you want to buy one, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, and that's why we went with it. So maybe it was something similar to that when I switched. I'm like, hey, I want to, because I do remember putting it. Putting it on my first credit card and maxing it out completely because my credit card was only $500 limit. So maybe it was
Right.
just that was a giant impulse buy.
Or like those the scalpers, they buy them all up, and then if you want to pay $1,000 for a PS5, like I'm good, I'll wait.
Yeah, I could definitely find those, and I was not doing that. So I had the guy I started this podcast with, Andrew. He's all into that, video games, movies, that kind of music, that kind of stuff. And so I would text him like, all right, well, him and his brother like were in touch with like these websites where it would show like, oh yeah, there's some here or there's some at this store. You can go online and buy this. And he would
Yeah.
text me and send me all these things and stuff. So we were able to get a pretty good deal on it, just based on Reddit is really good at that kind of. I don't know if you go on Reddit or not, but they do that kind of stuff too, where they I think there's a Nintendo one I'm on where like 4 years ago I was able to get like 10 games for free as long as you like kept downloading them. It was around Christmas. You kept downloading them. If you missed a day, then you couldn't get any more. But as
Oh
long as you
wow.
consecutive days, you got all these games for free. So Reddit's pretty cool for that kind of stuff.
So it was like a link to a free game, so you could download it on the console.
Yeah. So what happened? You just you had to purchase one of their previous games, and it
Mhm.
was an indie developer, so they weren't super expensive. But people found out it also worked with their free games. So as long as you had one of their games on your system already, you could get these 10 other games.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think of the 10, there were only like 3 that Mateo and I played. The
Yeah.
other ones ended up getting deleted eventually. But yeah, it was as long as you had something purchased. But like I said, I think we got like a coloring book game that was free. You could get all these games. The internet's very useful.
Right. Yeah, the independent developers are interesting because sometimes there's some hidden gems where watching the trailer or a little bit of gameplay, like, but then when you get your hands on the game, it's like, wow, this is actually really good.
Yeah, and it's nice because they're usually like, 5, 10, $15.
That's
So
the best.
yeah, so even if the trailer does catch your eye, you're like, well, I'm willing to I'll spend $15 and see what
Right.
this is about.
I'm not out anything. If like how I justify it, I go to the gas station a lot and those stupid energy drinks. So anytime I'm at the gas station and I got our daughter with us,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm spending at least $15 anyway. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll go to the gas station, not think twice about buying junk, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So why not buy a video game that I might enjoy and get to enjoy more than just one time?
Yeah. What energy drinks do you like? Because normally people have like a brand that they stay with.
Yeah, I like the Monster Rehabs. I don't like the
Right.
carbonation. I like the non-carbonated ones.
Oh, I didn't even know they made non-carbonated ones.
Yeah, anything that says rehab on it is the carbonation free.
So it tastes like, what is it, like Gatorade? Tastes like it, or
It's
like,
more like a juice, like a
okay,
sugary, but they also sell zero sugar ones too, if you can find
yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah. I that's why I like Rain.
Yeah.
I'll drink Rain because of that.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
the green and red one, was it Melon Mania or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I was drinking those for a while, yeah.
I like the gummy bear flavor one. That's one of the only ones I drink is the gummy bear one. There's
Oh,
the
I've never
or
had
white.
that.
I think like white gummy bear or something like that. But it's a good the
Huh.
green can. Yeah, it's
Okay.
good. But yeah, same thing, man. I'll go. I just like, hey, I'm gonna get, and I usually buy two because it's like two. You save like $1 or something,
Right.
whatever. But I'll buy two, and then I'll get like just the. I like Gardettos or combos or something to snack on too. And but yeah, you're right. You're like, all right, well, it's $12. I'm like, oh shit.
It don't take much, right?
No, no.
I get you.
What games do you play now on your PlayStation?
um, so I kind of beat all the PS5 games that I bought with my console. So I
Yeah,
was going back and playing some. So typically in the past, what I've done, I go to GameStop and I trade in my old console and my old games. So I get the next gen, a
yeah,
controller, and a game for free.
yeah,
Far from free, but
yeah.
so I don't have to come out of pocket any money that day. With the PS5, I didn't end up doing it that way. I just went and bought it outright and kept all my PS4 games since it's backwards compatible.
Yeah.
I know PS4 was also, but for some reason it just, oh, I sold my PS4 to one of my friends so
Mm,
his son could get it for his birthday.
got it.
So I was like, well, shoot, most of the cost is already covered for me anyways. I might as well. But yeah, 7 Days to Die. It's a zombie game
Mm.
that has like PS1 graphics, but
Oh, really?
yeah, it's interesting. But just the mechanics, and it's kind of like a survival based building zombie game.
Okay. All right. Do you play any online games?
I'm not, no,
No.
I tried it for a little, like back when Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out
Yeah.
the first time. I was all in, man. I was on
Yeah.
a team. We would play from 7 p.m. till 3 a.m. every single night. And we would clean up. We'd go a whole match without one death on our team.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But just now you just not into it anymore?
No, because really Call of Duty was the only online game that I like to play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the same. There's no
Mm.
tactics, there's no teams. It's just everybody sprinting as quickly as they can. It's not fun for me anymore.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I've said it a lot on here. My son and I play Fortnite together. Uh,
I was into that for a minute.
were you? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like it. We'll probably end up play some today, but it's so different because I'll play with him and his friends, and I just sit silently playing, and because they're just yelling and screaming, saying "bro" a bunch of times, and
Right.
he's 11, and they're just all over, and then I recently started playing with like other adults, and it's totally different. I mean,
Oh,
I'll
I'm
play
sure.
I'll play with my friend from high school. His name's Matt, and it's fun because whenever I play with him, or it's like yes, we're almost 40, but it feels like we're little kids again because it's just somebody you grew up with. I
Right.
I moved to Perrysburg when I was in high school or when I was a freshman, and that's when I met him, and it just goes back, and then we'll start talking about our kids and stuff like, oh yeah, we're old now. We're older. But it is fun to just like have conversations while you're playing a video game as opposed to just kids screaming and yelling,
Right.
it
Or
it
like, hey, I'm going to this bridge, cover me, or something along those lines instead of, bro, he shot me. Bro.
yeah. Oh, definitely that's what it is. And sometimes they forget about me. So like like they're doing this stuff, they're getting in the car, and then they take off like, guys, I'm not in the car yet.
Right. Dad, what are you doing out of the circle? Like, you guys left
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I was with you guys. Remember, I'm playing too. Yeah. But yeah,
It
hey,
makes me angry about the word bro. The first time I heard it, I was an intern at GM through my
yeah.
college, doing my college internship. And this girl that was interning with me, her little sister started saying this thing, cool story, bro. Like all sarcastic,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. I remember that.
And the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, that's amazing. But then people started saying it like what you're talking about with the kid, bro. Like they're
Yeah.
calling people bro. And it drove me nuts.
Yep.
And then I started saying it sarcastically. And now I'm saying it sincerely. And every time
Yeah.
I hear it come out of my mouth, I'm like, oh,
I remember growing up and I would say man all the time. Like my mom would ask me to do something. I go, come on, man. And then
right.
my dad got mad one time. He goes, your mom is not man. Your mom is his mom. And now I do that to my son. He'll say, bro. I go, hey, we're not your mom and me aren't your bros. Like we're mom and dad. Don't call us bro.
That's
But it's
funny.
the
I'm
same.
just dude.
Is okay, yeah. But I specifically remember my dad saying, hey, don't call us man. We're your mom and dad.
That's funny.
uh we talked about your internship and just based on your email and a little bit I know about you is did you I know your kid went to was you lived out by Defiance, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that where you grew up too?
Actually, like a half an hour directly south of there in the middle of nowhere.
Which
There's 350 people in the town. It's called Oakwood.
Oakwood?
Yeah, I think it's like one of four Oakwoods. It's the smallest one.
Okay. I never, I know a lot of towns out there, and it's funny because a couple episodes ago, I had someone on from Okolona.
Oh yeah.
And but I never heard of Oakwood. My grandparents live in Hamler, and which is out that we would always go to Defiance because that was the big city. So we'd go to Defiance and go to the mall.
Yo.
But yeah, I never heard of that. Oakwood. Okay.
Yo. Our parents would say they're going to town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like once a
Yeah.
week or once every 2 weeks, they would go because in Oakwood, there's just a convenience store and a gas station, which the
Okay.
gas station is closed down, but they charge those convenience rates. So it's like your parents weren't shopping there. If you didn't get something on your once a week trip, you just had to do without.
I know that is even now when we need milk, we gotta go to the store and it's like $6 a gallon. Like, God.
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah. So how'd you like how was it growing up out there? Because I'm assuming you still had your friends, but it's a small town and there's just not a lot happening.
Yeah, so I remember the first time I met my friend that I still talk to today. Most of them, it's kind of a tragic story. But anyways, the one that I'm still in contact with, I went over to his house, and his parents they weren't hoarders because it was all good, usable things that
Yeah.
eventually got used. They were like they would buy in bulk and that type of thing. So I opened the porch door, and there's just crap everywhere, and there's a little alley up to the door. So I'm like already freaked out being in this weird porch. And I knock on the door, and his dad was a sheriff and the town cop. And he opens the door without a shirt on, with his gun belt on, half bald. What do you want? He like froze up. But
Oh, that's funny.
yeah. And then I had two other pretty good friends that we met in that town, but just normal, what we call hillbilly redneck stuff.
Yeah.
Driving trucks around in the fields, doing four-wheelers, shooting guns, blowing stuff up.
Blowing stuff up. I would always take I lived in Toledo in the city, but I would take the extent of me blowing stuff up would take black cats and put them like in the bark of a tree and then just to see the bark fly off.
That's cool.
But I
When
I never got too into that stuff. Like I said, I lived in the city, so
right. No, pretty much everything we did would have got us arrested immediately.
we had fun, right? And everyone came back with all their fingers.
Surprisingly enough, yeah.
Well, hopefully, I guess I guess I shouldn't assume people came back with other appendages.
Right. No, we got lucky. Yeah, it
That's
definitely
good.
could have been worse.
There's always those times where something really bad happens and you're like, it scares you enough to be like, all right, we're never doing that again. But then in about 6 months, you find yourself doing that thing again.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you played any sports and stuff growing up?
Yeah, so we played hockey that wasn't like through anything. It was kind of self-organized. We had a bunch of people from Bryan and Defiance, my dad and um his friends introduced us all to it. And then as the kids, as we've gotten to high school and was driving and stuff, we kind of kept it going. But we went to some tournaments. It was mostly roller hockey.
Okay.
Did play some pickup ice hockey. And then I ran track and played football.
All right. What'd you do in track?
The 300-meter hurdles and shot and disc. So I was the only
What,
person that
really?
threw and ran.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't I threw in high school too. I didn't come across too many throwers slash um runners there, and if I did, they were usually the girls that did that.
Oh,
Like
okay.
there was a friend of mine, I believe threw disc and then ran too, but for the most part, yeah, that didn't happen. I ran a 100 one time or a couple times. I was like in one of the last heats, but other than that, like no, that's crazy, man. Why did you the hurdles just don't seem fun to me, especially 300. Like I
Yeah.
imagine the 110, okay, but 300.
Yeah, it was intense. But surprisingly enough, I was the second fastest hurdler.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I was built, I don't know, like I was carried a lot of muscle, but I
yeah,
wasn't like a big guy.
okay, okay,
Like, 5'10", but I was 220 pounds with
got
like
it.
a 32-inch waist. So it would just, yeah,
Just a solid bro.
yeah.
Football. I'm assuming you played line or linebacker then too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was guard freshman and sophomore year, and
Hmm.
then became center for junior and senior year. And I'm the smallest guy on the line, like
Yeah.
220. And I'm looking at these giant dudes, like 6'3", 350 pounds, and I'm just standing there like a little kid beside them. But my coach had a lot of foresight since, when you're snapping the ball, your neck is kind of, and you got to be ready for that. So
Yeah.
there was this machine that was shaped like a Z. So there's a
Okay.
head pad here and the weights go down here. So you put it up against your head and lift the weights while you push into it.
Okay.
And like my traps, I was told people called me no neck. Nobody said it to my face. But, so
You
he
know,
would have me
most
lift
most
that
people
machine.
most people with a nickname No Neck don't get it told to their face, I would imagine.
Right.
And where'd you go to high school? Did you go to Defiance?
Paulding.
Oh, Paulding. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, well, I actually went to a vocational school in Van Wert
Yeah.
my junior and senior year.
Okay. What was the
Yeah.
name of that school?
Vantage.
Vantage.
Vantage Vocational. I took
Okay.
desktop publishing, so I got to play on a computer all day. It was pretty sweet.
Desktop publishing.
Yeah.
And what does anything from those days doing desktop publishing advantage, has that led into anything now?
No, no. Which there's times that I wish I would have pursued it because I really enjoyed it. But now it's like computer design, not like CAD, but like graphic design, that
Okay,
kind of
okay.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
You
But
were quick to answer. Nah, it's a waste of my time.
so my senior project though, so the school to like pimp people out at the other, because it was all the surrounding high schools. They tried to recruit kids to come
Yeah,
there. So
yeah.
they had these little pamphlets like this. I don't know, it was slightly larger than an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but it quad folded down into like a neat little pamphlet.
Hmm.
So for my senior project, I got to design all of those for
Oh,
all of the classes. So I got to go around to all the different classes and take pictures and put the words together and do the format and print them out. And it's like the whole project was making a physical thing to give out to other schools at the end of the year.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so all your knowledge went into making these little pamphlets that you knew people at the very most uh took them, maybe not
Would
read all of them, but
crumple up and throw in the trash. Yeah.
there's this joke. I always forget. I forget who said it. I think it's Mitch Hedberg, where he's like, whenever people hand me a pamphlet, I picture them saying, "Here, you throw this away."
Yeah,
That's
that's too
exactly what's
perfect.
happened.
You look
But
like
after
you could use some more trash here.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you played sports all 4 years, right? Those,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So did you was there ever any thought of like, I want to continue, I know you're only 5'10", but continue to do sports in like college, but
No.
yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't even know why I played sports I think it was
Oh, really?
just something to pass the time, some sort
Okay,
of
okay.
camaraderie thing or
Yeah.
yeah.
I love track. I mean, I played three sports. I played football, I played basketball for CYO, and then I did track too. And track was my favorite thing I did in high school. It was especially being a thrower, you just go throw and then you hang out for 6 hours, and especially
Yep.
at invitationals, you just hang out and hold blocks, if you know what I mean, and hang out, So
They
yeah.
never had us do that, interestingly, but no, that makes a lot of sense that you would have the heavier guys hold the blocks.
Well, I would only hold it. I wouldn't hold it for the boys' races, just the girls' races. So
Huh.
as a boy in high school, hey Lorenzo, can you hold my blocks? Definitely.
Going around, hey, you need someone to hold your blocks? You need someone to hold your blocks?
And then you can't. Yeah, just Lorenzo. That's the other school. I'm just seeing if they need.
No, I was gonna let him slip. I was gonna let the block slip.
I wasn't really gonna hold them that good. Yeah. But as a 17, 18-year-old kid, that's just that's what you do.
Natural.
Yeah, yeah.
Natural, yeah.
So after high school, what's like, do you know what you want to do when you're in high school? Most kids don't, I think a lot of kids fake it, but do you know, like?
Well, I was living fast and loose. I don't know how much detail you want me to get in, but a lot of things that I'm not proud of, a lot of things my parents certainly wouldn't be proud of.
I mean, that's all. We talked about all kinds of stuff on this podcast. I mean, we talked about my brother who died of an overdose. My mom was on here, talked about, she was drinking. So I mean, that's up to you. Like, I'm more than
Okay.
willing to listen to anything you have to say. I think, like I said, that's what this podcast is for. We're here for an hour, so whatever you want to get into is up to you, and I'm here for it. So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I mean, I guess I could rewind a little bit. So
sure.
what kind of put me down that path was my mom died when I was 12.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, so she had medical issues, she had seizures and stuff, and then I was told she ended up passing in her sleep, like she choked on her saliva.
Oh shit.
Right. And at 12, that's a tough time. So it's like,
Yeah.
you're dealing with all the hormone angst and all that stuff, and then you add that on top.
Mm-hmm.
And I live with my stepmom and my dad wasn't in the military or anything, but his dad was. So my grandpa served in the army,
Mm-hmm.
and he was one of those 1950s man's dads, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like he worked at a cement plant and he would stack 75-pound bags of concrete by hand all day.
God.
He would fill up the rail cars by hand, just stacking these bags all day. So you can imagine when my dad got in trouble, the kind of ass whipping that
Yeah.
was coming, right? So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so my dad, I knew he loved me, but we never really expressed it. Like I didn't feel loved.
Yeah.
I know I was loved, but I didn't feel love. So I always had food, always had clothes, always, no matter what happened, I was always welcome at home.
Mm-hmm.
But just like, oh, you'll get over it. No matter what my problem was,
Yeah.
oh, you'll get over it. You'll get better.
Yeah.
Like it's weird how intellectually knowing something doesn't change the way you feel about it.
If I learned, and even now to this day, like um my parents always told us they love us, and like as a kid you're just like, all right, whatever, bye.
Right.
But then as I got older, I realized when I hang up the phone, even in high school, even now, when I hang up the phone, I always tell all right, love you, bye.
Right.
And like, I don't have a lot of friends that do that. They just say, okay, goodbye. Like it's a weird thing, but it does. You're right though, because for me, it was so ingrained as a kid. You're like, don't even hear it. And even now you just say it because you're used to saying it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have it, like you said, you knew you were loved, but you just never felt it or heard it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the loss of my mom could just kind of compiled on top of that.
Was she one that you did feel that from? Like, was she?
Yeah, but her situation, since she couldn't work because of her health
Yeah.
issues, like it was really low income. Like
Okay.
my dad and his wife weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but compared to what the situation going on at my mom's, like I remember she had custody of us for a while, and we would put bologna in the microwave until it turned into leather, just so we could have something different to eat.
Wow.
Yeah, like no
Oh,
running water. At one point, I remember everybody going to the bathroom in a bucket, and it was my job to take it out in the field and dump it.
damn.
Like,
How
yeah,
many were you? How many siblings do you have?
just one.
Okay.
Well, at that time, my mom had another little girl like 3 years before she passed, two or
Okay.
3 years. Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Wow. Yeah, that's I mean, just leaving out, not to say your mom passing is nothing, but just leaving out your mom, like even if your mom did not pass away, like how you were living there, and then the age you're going through, and then like you said, throwing your mom passing away, like that is a lot to deal with for a 12-year-old.
Yeah, and
And
then
your parents are split up.
yeah, and no
Yeah,
outlet, like no one to talk
yeah,
to, no therapy, like nothing. Kids, little kids don't care. They'll
yeah.
make fun of you. They don't care. Like I remember because I was picked on and I had a bully. I remember coming back from being off of school for mom dying, and it went right back to normal. Like nobody cared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You would. I mean, kids are kids, man. Like they are they are
kids are
ruthless, man.
assholes. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you would hope you have the one friend or two that understands what's going on. But even then, they're kids, and they're not gonna like, hey, Seth, how you doing? They're
Right.
12, so
They can only do so much. Like, oh man, that sucks. I'm sorry.
yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the bullying was another thing. For one of my classes in college, I got up in front of a group of people and talked about it because they were doing some sort of bully awareness type thing or whatever, and I shared my story. But yeah, pretty much every day for 3 years. Like there was times where my foot wouldn't even touch the ground getting off the bus, and I would get punched in the face.
Oh my gosh.
And nobody, like the bus driver saw it, like
Yeah,
nobody did anything about it.
yeah.
And even my parents, I would come home and dude would rip the hood off of my jacket, and I would get in trouble for tearing up my jacket.
You're like,
Like,
it's not me. I don't want to tear my
right.
jacket up. Yeah,
Yeah, just like so I don't want to say naturally because there's other ways to deal with this type of stuff, but as a child, the easiest way for me to deal with this stuff is to escape.
yeah.
So it started with huffing gasoline, huffing
Okay.
lighter fluid, and I mean just we called it eyeball mode where your body no longer existed. Like I could hold well, not sure if I was moving my arms, but in my brain, I would be like, lift your arm up in front of your face, and I
Uh-huh.
couldn't see anything. Like I looked down at my body, not there.
Wow.
Eyeball mode. Like it was crazy. Like, and I never even thought about how close to dying I was.
Uh-huh.
Because how that works, it's petroleum based, right? So it soaks into your system and coats your lungs, coats your brain. It basically you're slowly suffocating to death.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do any research on suffocation, like drowning and being in a fire and that kind of stuff, the same hallucination, same. So yeah, you're basically suffocating yourself to death really
Mm.
slowly. And I loved it.
How'd you find that? Did you say you loved it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
How'd you?
the only time I was happy.
Yeah, yeah. Was there another friend or someone that introduced you to that?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how it started. I
Okay.
mean, I definitely had a friend that I did it with.
Yeah.
Like we would go in the woods and make a fort and we would just be out there for hours, like all day.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we'd meander back at home sometime around dark. And yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to me. Not too crazy because I had an older brother who, did all that kind of stuff since he was 12, 13 years old. And then ultimately that's how he died. But it's like I never entertained any of that stuff. Maybe it's because I did have an older brother and I would see like subconsciously, understand like my brain is like, no, you're not getting near that. And don't get me wrong, I smoked pot every once in a while. I drank, when I was younger, and that's just, but I know I never got into that. But you know, a lot of it like is trauma, right?
Yeah.
Trauma based stuff, and that's when people do get clean, that's what you have to figure out. It's like, okay, why is this happening, and then work through that way.
Yeah. And
But
it's crazy because the pain is less, but the trauma is still there.
mm-hmm.
So it's easy to be like, okay, I'm better. I'm not as bad as I was. I'm good.
Yeah,
But no, the trauma is still there, and if you don't work through it, things can trigger it, and you
yeah,
instantly slide right back into how you were.
yeah.
So, and then the whole addiction piece that never goes away either, right? So
Mm-hmm.
every day it's a struggle
Mm-hmm.
on the easy way out, if you want to say it that way. I don't mean to be demeaning for anybody who's dealing with addiction. I feel bad.
No,
And
you're right, because when I talk to my mom about it, like there's times my mom's been sober for a long time, but there's times, I mean, even now, my sister and dad, they all live in the same house, and my mom, asks that they keep all the alcohol in the basement. Even though like she would never, like I said, it's been a long time where she hasn't drank, but it's still there. Like you said,
yes,
it doesn't go away, and everyone, I think a lot of people are addicted to things. My grandma was she never did drugs or alcohol, but she loved gambling. That was
Uh-huh.
something
That's a
she
big
always went.
one.
Yeah, she always went to Vegas and everything with my grandpa, and they loved her there because they comped her room all the time. So there's a lot of stuff, and I don't think it's bad to say like the easy way out. It's just a way out. It's just how
Right.
people deal with stuff, and some people it takes longer to realize that hey, this isn't what I should be doing right now.
Yeah, and when I said the only time I was happy talking about huffing, I
Yeah,
guess more specifically, the only time I wasn't crippled by the pain.
yeah.
It's not that I was happy, I just wasn't thinking about the pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, that evolved into being a high schooler kid, starting a job, having actual money,
Yeah,
running in, meeting people that, live that type of life, started, selling and doing drugs and, living real fast and loose, driving around with
sure.
a pistol and thousands of dollars and just like total craziness. And thank
Did did
God I got my
did
girlfriend pregnant.
Oh, okay. No, no one did. I don't think anyone said that.
Right.
I was just gonna say because for me, sports in high school, like we drank a little bit in high school, but I never did it during a season. Like
Oh,
it's like,
okay.
hey, I'm strong enough to be like, if something happens, I'm not gonna be able to play the sport.
Right.
And but that didn't factor in for you, any of that
No,
stuff?
like I said, I don't even know why I was playing. I didn't even want to. I don't want to say I didn't want to play, but yeah, I
Yeah,
don't even know why. Excuse me, but yeah, I was working 4 hours after school every
yeah,
single day. Well,
yeah,
Monday through Friday, I was playing the sports. I was, had a social. Like I was just constantly moving, constantly going, and lots of people, especially the people who are in the bad part of the life, like
yeah.
the using and dealing life. Like, how do you do it, man? How do you do it? I'm like, well, I felt like I didn't have a choice. Like,
Mm,
I'm on this team. I have to do that. Right. I have a job. I have to go to work because that's how everything starts. I need money to be able to do what I'm doing and enjoy the lifestyle that I have. So,
yeah, yeah.
right. Like,
Which
my parents had to have known because stereo equipment was my big thing. There was in Van Wert, there was a car audio shop.
mm.
I don't know how many thousands and thousands of dollars I spent there. Like, I would blow up speakers. No problem. Go buy more. Get another amp. Hey, we got this new amp in. You want to try it? I mean, just like thousands and thousands of dollars. And I don't know. I was in my early 20s. I had moved back to not back to Van Wert, but to Van Wert for the first time.
Yeah.
Was young and married. I got married to the girl. I got pregnant. And I went to the car audio shop, and the owner was there with his Dodge Viper. And I was like, oh, man, that's awesome. I was like, how about you let me drive it? He's like, how about no? And I was like, come on, man. I probably paid for like a quarter of that thing. And he was like, you're right about it. He's like, I'll let you sit in it.
Well, you said you carry a pistol around. Was there a time like was it that scary for you, or you're just like I think another thing like I got money, I'll spend it just in case.
So towards the end, it got pretty hairy, and I'm glad that didn't last long because mostly around where we were from, it was pills,
Okay.
pot, a little bit of meth. That was it. Occasionally somebody would have some coke, but it wasn't like a steady thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, towards the end, somebody moved up from Columbus and we got cool. And he's like, hey, I know a guy. So he introduced us. And then that's when things got real serious real quick. And then, we were rocking it up and going to Lima. And then that's when it was like, okay, maybe we should probably think about protecting ourselves. So
Mm.
that's where the pistol came in, was when we were going to Lima, because that was bad.
You know what's crazy to me is my initial thought was like when you're like, and then we went to Lima, and then we thought in my head I was like to not do it anymore, and you're like, nah, we need just something. We got to continue to do this. We just need to protect ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were invincible, man, full of
Yeah. Yeah.
testosterone and those kind of A type people like me and my buddy Shorty. Like we
Yeah.
were inseparable. Like if we weren't together, we were thinking about when we were going to get together.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said it kind of ended when you got your girlfriend pregnant. How old were you then?
I was 18. So he
Okay.
was born when I was 19. So I got her pregnant when I was 18. She was 17, a year younger than me.
Okay.
Right. So being in that life, I had seen people use in front of their kids,
Yeah.
deal in front of their kids, just leave the crap out on the table where the kid can pick it up. Like, I did not want to be one of those parents. And then, what I saw with my mom being extremely low income, below the
Mhm.
poverty line, like, that's kind of where drugs take you. Like, you
Yeah.
have to be doing really good to be that into the life and not be below the poverty line, right? So,
That, and they make movies about those kind of people. And I don't know, where you're getting, I don't think you're getting there,
right, no.
but
So, like, yeah, I didn't want that for my son.
yeah.
I do I want to say, well,
I mean, say what you
so
want, man. You can
all
do
right,
whatever.
through the lens of an 18-year-old kid,
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't want it. Get rid of it. Don't do
Sure.
it.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't want it.
100. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I can't. Like, this is
Well,
gonna
the
change
life.
everything.
Yes, the
No,
life you're in. The last thing you need is a child right now,
right.
and I think you prefaced it right. As an 18-year-old, that's where your mind was, and I think it's fair to say that. Maybe now you wouldn't say that, but and obviously you hesitated because like, hey, this is not what I would have wanted, and and I'm not going to speak for you. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm sure uh your your girlfriend at the time was that you're super excited that the decision was not made, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be where you're at right now.
Well, and she got it the worst. She was on scholarships. She had a trajectory towards her life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mine was aimless. I was filling it with bad stuff. She had a chance to go somewhere, right? So she
Mhm.
had to been a million times more conflicted about it than I was. But no, he literally saved my life. I'd either
Yeah.
be dead or still in prison,
Yeah.
maybe both.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So no, it was the best thing ever. And I I made sure that I treated him like all the stuff that I didn't appreciate how my parents raised me. I made sure that I didn't do that with him.
Yeah.
I made sure I squeezed him and hugged him and told him I loved him every chance I got, every second of the day. And when I was with him, I was 100% present. He was it. He was my world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are a dad now. What and you're getting out of that lifestyle you're leaving. What do you decide to do? Because you're like, all right, when I need a job, I need to do things. And like what is it? Where'd you go from there?
So kind of karma, really. Like, I'm not superstitious, I'm not religious, I don't believe, but it's interesting how the older I get, the more I start to feel like everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you would have told me that when I was even in 24, I'm like, yeah, shove it up your ass, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
believe in it, right? But looking back, yeah, I think so. Anyway, saying all that to say, my buddy Shorty told me, he was like, hey man, I went to the Marine Corps recruiter the other day. Like, oh, you fucking stupid. He's like, no, man, it was pretty cool. Like, they got, because he went to Vantage also, and
Okay.
he was in the welding program. So he was already a certified welder.
Mm.
So he was like, yeah, man, I can go weld on these tanks and sit in the motor pool and do all this and that. He's like, it'll be awesome. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me know how that works out for you. Because he didn't have any kids, he didn't have any ties. He was gonna get out and save himself, right? Like,
Got
we
it.
were all super excited, like, hell yeah, man, go do your thing.
Yeah.
So I'm laying there cuddled up with my pregnant girlfriend, and the phone rings. And I'm like, hello? He's like, is this Aaron? Which is my stepbrother's name. I'm like, no, he's not here. Oh, well, who is this? What do you want? Well, how old are you? I'm like,
Oh
what
my
do you
god.
want? He's
Yeah.
like, this is Staff Sergeant so and so with the Marine
Oh
Corps
my
recruit.
god.
And I'm like, oh, it's funny you say that because my buddy was just talking about. He's like, yeah, you guys should come down together, man. It'll be awesome. He's like, we got a program where you guys can go in together, the buddy program. It'll be great, man. Nothing else. Come down, talk to us, man. So we talked about it, and then we were in the Marine Corps recruiter office, and he was feeding us a bunch of lies.
I as much as I know there's a lot of people that are glad they went in the military and there are a lot of things like that, but it does seem like it starts like, hey, we're gonna get you in however we get you in. I think my uncle was in the army, and I want to say he fixed helicopters or some sort of big airplanes or something like that, and but I was a little bit thinking about it, and my dad I was talking to my dad. He goes, make sure if you're gonna go, make sure they give you something you can do, a job you can do after you're done. He
Right.
goes, because they're gonna just put you where they need people, and it might only be military stuff, and then you get out and you have no skill.
Well, where they need people is bullet catchers. I mean, I'm sorry, infantry.
Oh god damn. Jeez.
That's where they always need people.
So I don't. I mean, you can continue your story, but I kind of see where it's going. But keep going.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So we
So
did
you're
all
in the
that.
recruiting office. Yeah.
Yeah. They make you do like, so MEPS, the Military Entry Processing Station, they make you do like a quick little physical thing to make sure you're not completely inept, but they have waivers for everything. So if you can't make something, it's like an exemption, right? So they sign a waiver and you don't have to do it, because we had people in our platoon that were very, very heavy and couldn't hardly run at all. But from
Okay.
doing the two sports and playing hockey, the physical stuff wasn't anything for me. It was the
Yeah.
mental stuff. So anyways, we're in the recruiter's office and we got to do these sit-ups and push-ups and run and all this stuff. And I learned a valuable lesson that day, because 100 crunches, like, there's no way I can do 100 crunches. So like I was pacing myself, thinking maybe, and they were like, nope, you got to go faster. And then like, thank goodness the recruiter had me do it then, because I would have failed at MEPS. But you just got to do it as fast as you can before your muscle glycogen runs out and you get all the acid buildup. So yeah. So that was able to get me in the door. So we had to go to Troy, Michigan. I believe it's a suburb of Detroit.
Yep.
That's where MEPS was at. So we drove up there a couple times. Last time we went up, we did all the paperwork, got to pass the physical, pass the drug screen, all this stuff, right? So our recruiter bought us these like $90, and this was back 2001. $90 meant more than it does today, but
Yeah.
a $90 drug pass thing. So it was like, you drink this, you wait 2 hours, you drink another thing, you open up a packet of pills, you eat that. I mean, it was like this whole elaborate thing to clean out your piss, right?
Okay.
Right, because we were straight up with him, like, hey man, this is what we got going on. He's like, oh, I got you. So we did all that the night before, and the whole time I'm like, well, this might not go through. Like the test might come back and, they might kick me out before I even get started, but it worked and we got in. So now this was 2003.
Okay.
So I graduated in August. Boot camp was 3 months and a week. So 13 weeks. So whatever it was the spring of 03, right?
Okay.
So I come home, my dad's sitting there watching TV. He's like, hey man, where you been? I was like, oh, Detroit. Detroit, what are you doing in Detroit? I said, well, I joined the Marine Corps. I leave tomorrow. And he just shook his head and muttered under his breath, dumbass.
No shit.
And I'm like, oh, all right, cool, nice talk. But I think what drove that comment, he was watching the shock and awe campaign where they bombed the shit out of either Fallujah or Baghdad. He was watching it on TV live.
Yeah.
As his only son comes home and tells him this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then that's what my girlfriend at the time, future ex-wife, you're joining the military in the middle of a fucking war?
Yeah. I mean, that is a wild time to join.
Right. But I mean,
unless you super, super love America.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which a lot of people did. And I have very much respect for those people.
Sure. Yep.
But looking back, the war lasted 20 years. Like so many people could have been said you joined in the middle of a war.
You're right. Yeah.
Was opening a can for, that's a whole nother discussion. But
yeah.
So the recruiter lied to me about pretty much everything, the timeline, like what they were going to have you do, pretty much everything. The only thing that was locked in that was actually true was my MOS, my job, military occupational specialty.
Okay.
So I was a cook, and I decided to do a cook because if I had to go fight in the war, I didn't want to be a bullet catcher. So I had this son. I'm doing all of this for him, right? Like at this point, I'm not doing anything for me. It's for him because I want to be a good father and I want him to grow up with a life better than what I had. So
yeah.
Also part of that decision, I joined the reserves instead of going active duty. So my buddy Shorty went active duty, I went reserves. We did go to boot camp together on the buddy program, but what they don't tell you is when you first get there, well, maybe not when you first get there. I'm not sure if you've seen any videos, but they make you get off the bus and stand on the yellow footprints and they're screaming at you. And like, it started before we even got there. Like they had, I don't know if they were recruiters or just active duty Marine Corps guys in the airport. So when we show up to get on the plane, they're already on your ass. And we had to sit in this like classroom for a couple hours while we were waiting for our flight.
Yeah.
And it was intense from the start, man.
Wow.
But at some point at the very beginning, they were like, okay, who's all on the buddy program? Go stand with your buddy. So we did that. We're standing there like, okay, you go to this platoon, you go to that platoon. So they instantly split us up. Right. Which again, hindsight being 2020, like it would have made it so much easier if I was doing this cool, awesome bro man thing with my bro, right?
Yeah.
That was mostly sarcastic when I used that. But yeah, because physically I was kind of disappointed. Like, you know, the few, the proud, the Marines, like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna get my ass kicked. It's gonna be no, man. It was like, as far as like the obstacle courses and the fighting and all the stuff you think about when you're in the military, that was, I don't want to say it was chill, but like compared to what I was wanting and what I was prepared for, it wasn't as much as what really got you is all the push-ups and crunches and mountain climbers. And, you know, I told you I was 220 pounds, right?
Yeah.
At 5'10", my body mass index was off the charts. They were like, dude, you're way too fat. You have to go. We called it the pork chop platoon.
Chop platoon.
So guys who body fat percentage is too high, or their BMI, for like a typical person, a BMI is a poor measure of your body composition, right?
Yes.
Right. But for someone like me, it was an extremely poor measure of my body composition. So luckily my recruiter got a waiver for me where they gauged my body fat percentage. Okay. So based off of that, I got a waiver to where I didn't have to go to the pork chop platoon. But saying that, because I was eating like 3,000 calories a day, like a giant 60 count pizza roll bag, like for a whole family. One of those for one meal. Like I was killing the calories. So that was really hard too. Only eating 3 times a day and only eating what was put on your plate, no seconds. Like that was the hardest part. Well, not the hardest part. The hardest part was the mental thing, knowing my pregnant girlfriend was waiting at home for me. My unborn son, who I needed to be there for. So while we were in the recruiting station, I talked about him lying a bunch. The main thing that makes me feel like he was a liar, he didn't tell me there's a processing week, an entire week when you get there before you get picked up by a platoon and start your training. So we got the calendar out. Okay, she's this many weeks pregnant now. The baby's gonna be born here, right? We did all of that on the calendar, right? So after boot camp, before your Marine combat training, well, if you're not an infantryman, you go to Marine combat training, which is like, because every Marine's a rifleman, right? So you got to learn to do basic shooting, demolition, tactics, all that kind of stuff before you go out and do your job. Everybody else goes to infantry school, like they pick it up right away. But between there, no matter what job you have, after boot camp and between your training, there's 10 days to give you to go home after boot camp. So we were like, we got it figured out perfect right in that window. My son's going to be born this time. It'll work out perfect. I'll go back to training. I'll eventually come home, right? I missed my son being born by less than 24 hours.
Oh, no.
So we graduated on a Friday morning. We did the ceremony. I had my Eagle Globe and Anchor. Like everything was official, right? Like, yeah, awesome. So I call her in the hospital. She's in the hospital because she had been in labor. And she's like, it's coming. It's happening today, tonight. Can you leave right now? And I feel like it's like a 14 or 16-hour drive to Ohio where we were at from North Carolina. And so I told my senior drill instructor what I had going on. He's like, sure, you can leave. I'm like, oh, awesome. He's like, but when you come back, you're gonna have to start boot camp all over again.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you did the ceremony, but you haven't graduated. Administratively, you don't get processed out until Saturday morning. Right. So Saturday, sometime around noonish, midday, we got to leave and drive home, and we went straight to the hospital to see my son. But yeah,
That sucks. Yeah. Yeah, I know there's for most of my friends when they've had their kid, they're like, yeah, I'm in the room, but I'm not going to be, down there watching everything. I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
Uh, but that sucks, man. I mean, because yeah, you could have gone, sure, but all that work you did, you're not gonna want to do all that again, and like you understand, like this is the process or whatever, and maybe you try to talk to yourself like, all right, in the grand scheme of things, missing the birth isn't that terrible because you're trying to think of all these other life moments you're gonna have and this kind of stuff, and
Well, I've seen
but
videos. It's pretty gross. I don't know if emotionally it would have had a big impact on me, but like physically, like see, it's pretty gross.
it is pretty gross. But I mean, we could as men, that's pretty much the extent of what we can say. It is a terrible thing to go through, but being able to be in there, um, I can picture it. I can picture being in there emotionally. Um, I don't know. Like, I think for me, emotionally being in there is more for my wife. Like obviously my son and my daughter don't know I'm in there.
Right.
But I think it was more for her, like, hey, we are here together. You are doing all this work, but I am here. I'm here with you, and that
Right.
kind
I'm
of
your
stuff.
support. I'm here for
Yes.
help. Right.
I mean, because that's all you can do, right? I
Yeah.
mean, what are you gonna do? Get some ice chips. Go. So yeah, but that sucks, man. That does suck. Um, that it was the way it happened.
Right. Yeah.
So you were, how long were you in the Marines then?
Oh, I did my 4 years.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So I always used to say I feel like it would have been easier had I gone active duty and like not really forced her. She obviously would have had an option, but made her follow me if she wanted us to continue to be a family, because it was really hard one weekend a month to switch it back on, because it's such an intense, and the type of people that join the Marine Corps, they want to, the way they advertise it, the marketing, we're the best of the best. Like there's soft guys out there, special operation forces, like those guys are on a whole nother level. But as far as conventional forces go, people go in there because they're badass and they'll beat anybody's ass, and they would, all this kind of stuff. So it was those type of people all the time, which I am not. Like even when I was in it, and I just didn't project it. Like I thought I was a bad person, and I would have took on anybody that wanted to come at me, but I
Yeah.
didn't walk around projecting it and talking crap. Like I just didn't like the games, and everything was a competition. Oh, I can chew this gum faster than you. Like just everything, man. It was so stupid. So yeah, having to switch that on one weekend a month, 2 weeks a year was like, it was torture.
Are you glad you went?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I thought it was the answer, but I
Yeah.
wanted to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I still carry certain discipline things with me. Certain things I wish I was more disciplined in, but no, it definitely, one, saved my life, two, helped me be a better father for my child, and three, put me on a path that didn't lead to more poverty and more pain and destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's good, because it does. Obviously, it sounded. There are obviously bad things or negative things that you mentioned and going through that, but overall, I'm glad that's how you felt. I'm glad all those things happened, and that it ended up well for you. So
yeah.
There
was I was working third shift at some point, so I worked in a factory, and we would do our drill weekends, so we'd have to be down there in formation by 7 p.m. on a Friday night. And we did our thing all weekend, wherever it was, whatever we were doing. A lot of times we would drive up to Camp Grayling in the upper, I believe it's the actual state of Michigan, not the UP, but towards the top of the state. We would do a lot of training up there, but sleeping on the ground with your head in the mud and all that kind of stuff. And then Sunday afternoon, they'd let you go around I think muster ended at 5 or 6 p.m.
Uh-huh.
Driving to Detroit to Van Wert, which is like 3 hours if you drive a normal speed. And work starts at 11. So get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do all those war games and all that stuff all day, and then have
Yeah.
to work that night on no sleep. Like, luckily, I had a really nice supervisor. He was like, he sent me home a couple times, like falling asleep, standing up on my feet.
Wow.
Like, hey, man, you got to get out of here. This is a safe place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Well, we're almost wrapped up here, but I do want to ask you, are you still doing glass blowing?
Yeah.
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 Because that's one thing. It's such a cool thing, like a cool way, cool art. And I remember when Heather first talked about it when you started doing it, and like I think she'd bring in things every once in a while, like little things you'd make or whatever. And I remember specifically these little like wizards or something. I think
Yep.
I remember seeing those. But how's that been? How's that going?
It's good. The wizards are still like my main seller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to take me over an hour to make them. Now I've got them down to like, depending on the color, some color melts faster and easier than others, but
Okay.
anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. But yeah, I got a smoke shop down in Cincinnati that is like a steady customer. They like to always keep them in stock. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah.
That's cool,
Uh,
man. That's because I wasn't sure what you were going to say at the beginning. I thought that might have been the nerd out thing, but that is a cool thing, and it's cool to make money from it too. Regardless of how it falls. Like maybe it's not enough money to cover everything, but you're still like making money at something you really like to do.
yeah, it's meditation for me.
Yeah,
So like, to melt the glass, you gotta focus solely on the glass. If you're not thinking about what the glass is doing, how the heat is affecting it, what's going to happen in the like, it takes all of your concentration to do it well. I
I
mean,
got
you can
it.
go out there and be like, and fling glass around, but to make a specific shape, to do something very specific, it takes a lot of concentration. So
Yeah.
it's easy for me to get into a flow state when I'm doing that.
Do you do that at your house?
Yeah, yep. So I got to
Nice.
set up in the garage. I got a kiln for the annealing, and I got an oxygen propane torch
Yeah.
for melting the glass. Yeah,
And Heather just lets you do all that, huh?
yeah. She better. No, I'm
No.
joking.
I found it funny when I first started working at UT with her, and when she told me that her ex used to call her the warden, I lost my mind. Like, first of all, you're like 5'2". You're so tiny. And he
Yeah.
calls you the warden. I love that part. That was so funny to me.
Well,
Also,
and
yeah,
what
go
makes it
ahead.
even funnier is not just her stature, but her personality, like
Yeah,
the way she conducts herself. Like,
she has,
really?
she has no warden personality for sure.
No, like she's afraid to tell a butterfly to go away. Like,
I will tell you, because Heather and I worked Tuesday through Saturday together. So Saturdays are just me and her. And we would spend our lunches and we would talk about stuff that was going on. And, she would talk about her ex before she met you. She would talk about her ex and stuff going on with him. And, but there was a shift. Like once she started dating you, there was a shift, and not necessarily like the what we would talk or like what we would talk about, but it was like how she talked about it then. So there was a big shift in her happiness level. Like
oh yeah.
she is a I think she's naturally just a happy person. Like you said, she has a really good personality. But once she started dating you, like there was a shift. And I could tell and then we would make fun of her because you're like, you're gonna get married again. Like we would all make fun of her. She's like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
She's gonna die on that hill. She's still standing strong on
And
that
she,
one.
there was one time in this. I always bring it up when I see her. I think there was a time where you guys like either broke up or were possibly breaking up, or there was something going on, and like she was talking about it to me, and she kind of get emotional about it, and I was listening to her, and then she like flipped her phone, and a song came on, and the song goes, "I tear my heart open," and it was like the perfect song for what was when she was talking. And we both started just cracking up about it. And I don't know how that happened. And she started laughing, but I was like, Heather, you'll be fine. You guys will be fine. You're just going through whatever. And obviously it was it. I mean, this is forever ago. I mean, I haven't worked there in 3 years.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Because we still talk about that.
Do you really?
And what it was, I had broke my Obama phone and lost all my numbers.
Okay.
My phone was broken. It was gone. I got a new phone, but I don't have anybody's numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like we've only ever had like 2 or 3 real arguments, like times we've really gotten mad at each other, which is strange.
Yeah.
Like I've never had a relationship like that before. And from the way I hear people talk, most people don't.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. But yeah, so that like through the lens of me not knowing what had happened, like on your guys' side of the things, like, oh, he's ghosting me. Like he's mad at me. He doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Like, why isn't he texting me back? Why isn't he answering my calls? Like, yeah. But so I think it was on a Friday when, her daughter went to her dad's. She had that free weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody knocked at my door and I'm like, what? I feel like, I don't know, I'd have to ask her, but I feel like she had called me that same day I had gotten my phone. Yeah, that's what it was. Because it wasn't a complete surprise that she was at my door. But the surprise was we were on the phone. Oh, what are you doing? How you doing? Oh, I'm on my way over. Like, what? Crazy stalker, what are you doing? So that's what we still joke about, is that she was stalking me and just going to show up when she thought I was ghosting her.
If she worked with other women like that, it probably would have been totally different. But us guys are just like listening to her talk, and that's all we're doing is just listening. And we're not like, oh, he's not to stereotype
putting thoughts
girls
in her head.
Yeah, right. I don't want to stereotype girls, but I think that's he's probably doing this or doing that or whatever. And we were just eating our pizza and listening to her talk, and a lot of times that's what what she needs, or sometimes my wife just needs me to hear her and not necessarily offer solutions, and so
right.
whatever happened,
to solve the problem.
Yeah, just listen to me. Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. I kind of go through that with Heather too. Like a lot of times I say stuff, I'm like, babe, the question was rhetorical, and or I'm not saying this to you because I want you to provide me a solution. Like, yeah.
I saw this TikTok where this guy's like, he tells like when his wife or girlfriend starts talking, he's like, all right, are you looking for solutions? Are you looking for me to just to hear you? And that way, like going into it,
start the conversation like that.
Yeah. That's a good way. But
I know Jordan Peterson talked about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with his work, but
yeah, I am. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I believe if not that, it was something very similar to that in his 12 Rules for Life.
Oh,
I listened to that book. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, man, I won't keep it longer than an hour, but I appreciate coming on here. I feel like I wanted to get to your glass blowing, and I'll definitely put a link to your Instagram in the show notes so people can check it out.
Awesome, thank you.
But I wanted to get to that because I know that that's something you really like to do, and you're obviously trying to like sell things and that kind of stuff. But there was a big gap from you having your son to where you're at now. So at some point you can come back on and we can talk more. But I appreciate being really open about that kind of stuff too, because like I said, living through that, just seeing it happen, seeing people go through drug and alcohol addiction, that kind of stuff. I like listening to those stories, and obviously you're at whatever happens, and you're at where you're at now. You seem like you're in a really good space, and you're always fighting those things like we talked about, but everything seems really good, and I'm glad for you that everything's going well. And Heather's always been a really good friend. I always enjoyed talking to her, so I'm glad that you guys are together, because like I said, I noticed the shift there, and then she seems really happy, and so do you. So good job.
Yeah, we had to work on it. It was kind of selfish for me, really, that I knew I wouldn't be able to be in a relationship with someone as timid as her. The girl before her was kind of the same way, and it backfired on me because I'm such a dummy, and like bulldoze through stuff. I don't get your little hints. I don't get what you're
Oh,
subtly wanting me to understand.
yeah.
So like if this is gonna work, you're gonna have to be able to stand on your feet and flat out tell me things. Like, and I want you to be comfortable to tell me stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want you to fear of what I'm gonna think or how I'm gonna react. Like, because one, I love you, and this is always going to come from a place of positivity. So
Mhm.
even if I do get upset by what you say, I'm not going to try to hold it against you. Like,
Yeah.
that's on me. If those are my feelings, I need to deal with them, not punish you because you felt a certain way. Like, you have every right to feel that way and think
Mhm.
what you're thinking. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll go. Well, if two people are willing to work hard, then that's a relationship that's supposed to be happening. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the two fights that we had was 100% my fault.
but now it's on record, and now she can bring it up whenever she can pull this
Yep.
clip up and say,
I'll put it in writing too.
"All right, Seth. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward to coming back on.
Thanks again to my guest Seth Robinson for coming on the podcast. I appreciate him opening up and talking about his early life and his addiction and huffing gas and getting into drugs and selling and all that stuff, getting his girlfriend pregnant, joining the Marines. Like there were such good stories, and I'm glad everything worked out for him now. He's a great guy. Like I said in the episode, he started dating my friend when I worked at UT, and they're still together. And she was she like I said, we talked a lot. It was cool to see that shift, that change in her, and just her being happy, that she found someone that she really loved. So thanks again, Seth. As always, please like, share, subscribe to wherever you're listening or watching this. Trying to get those numbers up. Reach out to anyone or reach out to me for any other guest suggestions that you may have. Always looking for people to talk to. Again, these podcasts will probably continue to be in my basement just because of time. When I do in-person interviews, it takes a couple hours to edit, and with football coming up and 2-a-days and work, it's just not something I can do right now. So once the season kicks off, maybe that's something I can go back to. But as of now, they'll probably just be Zoom interviews in my basement. But it doesn't change the audio quality as much, as just watching on Zoom. But they're still great. There's still a lot of information. There's still things I'm learning, and I love all the guests that come on here. So please reach out to anybody who you think might want to come on. The email is thenerdballpodcast@gmail.com. Check me out on Instagram, the Nerdball Podcast, Twitter, the Nerdball Pod, of course, Facebook. All those spots to find. As always, thanks to Cuttlefish Graphics, Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab, Real JP Multimedia, and Big Daddy Graphics for always helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.